guys, I got a cool one here this week, or what I think is a cool one. The Qubed S1-850. I've never messed with a Qubed amp before. I will tell you this, I have already taken this one out of the box. Here lately, I've been doing my unboxings on video mostly, but this one I did take out of the box a few days ago. There's a couple of things already that interest me in this. I will say this, I've not hooked it up yet at all, haven't turned it on, none of that, but I did take it out of the box. But let's look at it. Let's look at it. Here's the front of the box. You see right there, this is one of the things that interests me. So we know that we normally don't like the max power type of ratings, but this one is 850 watts max power. I think this amp is supposed to do that kind of power RMS. So it's interesting that they've got it listed as max power. There's that end. This end, it does show what the ends of the amp looks like, which is pretty cool. I like that. The other end is plain as well. And there's nothing on the bottom except a little bit of writing in that corner. Made in China, designed in Oklahoma City. All right, let's unbox this. So it's the box in a box. Let's take it out, set it aside for a second. Here's a manual. We're gonna take a look at that in a second. What do we have in here? Okay, bass knob. Check this out. Clip light. You see that? Clipping and a power light. It's a metal bass knob. Got their logo on it. Let's see, is it smooth? I have not taken it out of the package. Yep, nice and smooth. No clicks, no grittiness. That's always good. Get the cable for that. Some Allen wrenches or Allen keys, whatever you call them. And that's it. The rest of the box is empty. Let's set that aside. All right, we'll set these aside. Let's look at this manual real quick. All right, some warnings, feature, here we go. Specifications, right here. S1-850, working voltage 8.5 to 16. All right, power. All right, it don't say RMS, so this is gonna be interesting. 4 ohms, 14.4 volts. 375, 2 ohms, 14.4, 625 watts, and 1 ohm, 14.4, 900 watts, and 1 ohm, 16 volts, 1070. So that's another thing that's interesting. So in the book, it's rated 900 watts, even though on the box, it says 850 watts max power. That is so interesting. What's the rest of the... how to hook it up, troubleshooting, mounting instructions, warranty. That's it. Okay, so there are no RMS ratings. Hopefully these are RMS ratings, but they don't say so. And I'll be honest, guys, I have not looked online to see if their website says. So the size and weight of this thing tells me that I would think it would do that. Pretty slick looking design. I like it. It's kind of a semi-gloss. It's not a flat black, and it's not a shiny black. This is cool. This part in the middle is like etched in, where the Qubed looks like it's screen printed on. All right, so here we go. 4 gauge, 8 gauge. You do get 2 and 2 8 gauge remotes. These are not the angled style, so I like everything I'm seeing over here. On the other end, all right, you got your inputs, power, and protect. So that's interesting. You have a clip light on the bass knob, but not on the amp. Gain, subsonic. There's your remote. There's your low pass from 20 hertz to 200 hertz. And look at this, guys. It's strappable. So if you want to make this your master, leave it there. Slave, leave it there. That is really cool. So here's the other interesting thing I noticed about this amp already that I can appreciate. It does not have a bass boost. That is extremely rare. Even all the good amps these days that everybody just really loves, the JP amps, the Salt amps. I mean, even those amps have bass boost, and most people turn bass boost off. Well, let me say this. Most people that know better turn those off. You still run up on a lot of people that will turn the bass boost all the way up. I've got a funny story about that I need to share one day, by the way, with an amp that I sold. All right. Anyhow, I think that's kind of cool that they didn't put a bass boost on here for you to keep turned off. I don't know. It's rated 900 watts. There's the bottom. We may take the plate off of this. I'm not real sure. If I do, I'll insert that, but the size and weight of this tells me that it should probably be about that power rating. I don't know. We'll see. Let's hook it up and put it on the dyno. See what she's all about. All right, stay tuned for that. All right, we got it all hooked up. A couple of things. Number one, right here it says 4 gauge for the power terminals, 10 gauge for the speaker terminals. I think I said 4 and 8. Anyhow, and this is a Class D mono block. I had not yet mentioned that either. So this amp is made for subwoofers only. You wouldn't want to put this on some door speakers or some 6x9s or something like that. This is made for subwoofers. Story time. I will go ahead and tell that story real quick that I mentioned earlier. So I buy these amps usually on Amazon, like I did this one. And all 3 of the other amps I'm fixing to mention were bought brand new on Amazon. But I sell them on Marketplace, usually, just to local people. You know, we meet up in a parking lot somewhere, and I sell it to them as slightly used. And it works out great. I've sold a bunch of them that way. And I always lose money. I never make money on these amps the way that I'm doing it. I lose money every time. I'm chalking it up as a hobby. But so I met with these 2 boys back around Christmas last year. In fact, I think it was the day after Christmas, and sold one of them, the Crunch GP 3500, and went great. Perfect transaction. Month or 2 later, I don't remember exactly how much later, a boy messaged me about the Rockville, what was that amp? The RXA T2. Now that was an amp that was only rated to go to 2 ohms, and I can't remember if it was full range or not. But anyhow, met with him. When we met, I said, "Hey, you look familiar. Have we met before?" And he said, "Well, I was with my buddy when you sold him the Crunch." And I thought, oh, that's right. That's what it is. Okay. And so sold him that Rockville. Went great. The next day, he started messaging me saying that the amp kept shutting off. And I started asking him some questions, about how he had it hooked up and all that. And I got to thinking about it, and I thought, well, yeah, that amp's only rated to go to 2 ohms. He's probably at 1 ohm or who knows what, pushing it too hard, some kind of situation like that. But I told him, because I had just got through doing the videos on the Power Acoustic 5000. What was that amp? The OD1-5000D. And that was a pretty stout amp, and it was rated to go to 1 ohm, Class D, mono block. That's the other thing. The Rockville was a Class AB, 2-channel, but it was rated to go to 2 ohm, no, 4 ohms bridged. That's what it was. 4 ohms bridged. And so, anyhow, I knew that power acoustic would be a tougher amp, probably for his application. And so I told him, I said, hey, look, I got this other amp. It's $20 more. If you're interested, let me know. And he said, okay, so you'll take this amp back and I give you $20 and you'll give me the other amp. And I said, yes. He was kind of shocked that I was willing to trade him out for what's probably a better amp for only $20. So I do good business with people, and I don't lie to people and stuff like that. But of course, I'm careful to make sure I don't get messed over as well. But because all these amps I'm selling work properly, I would never sell a bad amp. But what happens to that thing after it leaves my hands, that's another story. But I met with him, and I took my multimeter with me because I wanted to see. I asked him if he was going to have his subwoofers with him, and he said yes. And I said, I'd like to check the ohm load if you don't mind. So we got there. I checked the ohm load and asked him how he had it wired up. It was actually wired up perfect, and it was a good amp for what he was doing. He had 2 Pioneer 10s. I believe they were 10s. Single voice coil, 4 ohms each, and he was running 1 sub to each channel, so it was hooked up perfectly. And I didn't notice this while we met, but I got home with the amp, started looking it over the next day. Every knob on that amp was turned all the way to the right. The gain was all the way up, the bass boost was all the way up, even his filters. He had every knob turned all the way to the right. And I messaged him about that, and he said, oh yeah, that's how I thought you were supposed to do it. And I said, no, those settings are actually very important, and they need to be set right. I'm sure that's why this thing was cutting off on you. So I tested the amp. It worked perfectly. There was nothing wrong with the amp. He was just working it too hard. Sold him the power acoustic. He has loved it. I checked in with him over the next month or two. I would message him periodically, and he said, oh yeah, it's still doing great, going strong, thanks a bunch, whatever. Anyhow, so that was my first experience with seeing a guy turn his knobs all the way to the right. I mean, they were bottomed out all the way to the right, and I couldn't believe it. But anyhow, sorry that took so long, but some of y'all might have got a kick out of that. All right, so this is Class D monoblock. We're hooked up at 4 ohms right now. We are going to start off at 14.8. We're capturing the current draw. Have not even turned this amp on yet. Let's do that right now. I've hooked it all up, but I have not even powered it on. I want you guys to see that with me. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Looks good. Nice and bright. Blue light. Talked so long that my AMM1 timed out on me. Let's get that back to dyno mode. Guys, I'm sorry about the delay here. Here we go. All right, 40 hertz test tone. This run is rated, you can see it right there, 375. Let's see. Can she do 375? Let's unpause the track. 4 ohms. Oh man, how about that? 375 exactly. The voltage dropped to 14.6 and the current draw was 48.4. Now keep in mind, that was rated 375 at 14.4 volts. See that over there on the left? We did drop to 14.6. So I will say this, I rolled that up kind of slow, especially to start with, and that does you know, put a hurting on my voltage a little bit when I do that. But to be honest, 14.6 is still higher than what they're saying. At 14.4, it would have probably been a little bit under. So you could probably run that run 10 times and it would come out slightly different each time. But anyhow, all right, let's hook it up to the 2 ohm test. What's it rated? 2 ohms, 625. Let's see if it'll do that 625. All right, guys, here goes that 2 ohm run, rated 625. Is she gonna do it? .616. The voltage dropped to 14.5, and the current draw was 84.1, just a little bit under. And yeah, so I mean, it is doing almost what the manual says. I wasn't sure if those were you know, RMS ratings or what, but I will say this, I'm gonna call that falling a little bit short on the 4 ohm and the 2 ohm, just because that voltage was higher than 14.4, and that was up to clipping. It doesn't really say if it's up to 1% or clipping or whatever. In fact, the box says max, so I'm gonna say it's doing better than what most people would consider max power, even though there's no such thing, to be honest. But falling a little bit short of these official runs here. Okay, all right, let's hook it up to 1 ohm, see if it can do that 900. It's called a 850, but let's see if it'll do 850 or 900, either one. All right, stay tuned. All right, 1 ohm, here we go. Rated 900 in the manual. The box says 850. What is she gonna do? How about 862? Voltage dropped to 14.3. Current draw 125.7. So that time our voltage is a little bit under what the book says. If we'd had another 1/10 of a point, would it have gained 38 watts? I don't know, probably not. And keep in mind, that's uncertified. It's doing less than that on all these runs, certified. So I would say this amp is falling a little bit short of its ratings. This is a brand that most people respect a little bit. It's not known as a super cheesy brand like Boss and Planet Audio and all them others, but I really thought it would probably do its rated power, but it is falling short only a little bit. What do you say we hook this up to those 2 SCAR 12s? Because this is decent power. I mean, that's okay power, especially for a guy with stock electrical wanting to push you know, a sub or 2. This is decent power for a stock electrical. Let's see what it'll do on those 2 SCAR 12s. All right, guys, we're over here and we're hooked up to those 2 SCAR 12s at 1 ohm. I want to talk about a couple things first. I don't want to sell this amp short. I got to thinking about it after I stopped filming the other video. This thing did its 850. What did it do? 862 at 14.3. I'm sure it would have done 850 at 14.4. So that on the box, 850 watts max power. I'm gonna say it did that. That might be the first time have we ever seen an amp that did its max power. I don't know, but I know that this thing did fall, what I'm gonna say is a little short of its ratings in the manual. But the fact that it did do that 850 max power rating that's on the box, pretty good. So I don't need to overlook that, really. Also, last weekend, a week ago yesterday, actually, today is Sunday, but a week ago yesterday, me and my boys went to the XS Power Show in Knoxville, and we had a blast. That was not our first show to go to, but man, it was a good one. And we got to meet, we've met JP twice now, Roderick, S. Scott, we met Derek from Sundown, we met EXO got a picture with him. You probably saw that in my other video. Make sure you check out my video that I posted of that show last weekend. It's a short video. It's mostly of my boys getting demos, but we stopped EXO and actually talked to him for a few minutes. We talked about the Behemoth. It was so cool. He said, man, I don't know if you saw my post yet. He had to have been talking about the post on Facebook, maybe Instagram as well, I'm not sure, but he had just got his amps at that show, which I was able to see in his video. But he said, I don't know if you saw my post or not, but I just got my amps. And he didn't even tell us what his amps were. So saw that in his video. But so cool. What a great guy. All those guys are great guys. Anyhow, all right. I have rambled a lot in this video. So let's get to it. 1 ohm. Let's see what this thing sounds like on music. Let's see what kind of dynamic power we'll get out of this thing. All right, let's do it. Wow, the little 850 did pretty good on those 12s. 1134 dynamically at 14.6. That's pretty good. I don't know. You could see it had those 12s a jumping. So yeah, somebody would probably love this amp. To throw this in the back of a hatchback or a SUV or a trunk on a couple of subs, stock electrical, this thing's going to go pretty hard for you, to be honest. So guys, there you go, the Sound Qubed S1, what's it called, the S1-850. Anyhow, thanks guys for watching.